Hi everybody, Penny here. Welcome to my kitchen. So today we are doing soda bread. I can't really call it Irish soda bread because I don't have any Irish butter and I don't have any Irish flour. But we're going to make soda bread. If you're doing basic soda bread, just basic, all you need is what's in this bowl, which is 1.5 cups. I have 1.5 cups of white flour, 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour. Now you can do all 3 cups in whatever flour you like, or you can mix it up. That's the oven, preheated to 375. And added to this bowl is 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So that's why it's called soda bread, because there's no yeast or anything else. The only leavening agent in here is the baking soda. So you want to whisk all that together, make a well, and then you have 1 cup of buttermilk. Now don't panic if you don't have buttermilk. You can take 1 cup of ordinary everyday milk and add 1 tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice and let it sit for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and that will give the same bitterness and the same acid as what is in buttermilk. And it's the acid that reacts with the baking soda that makes the bread rise. Now this is a dense bread. It's not light and fluffy bread like this bread over here that I made earlier today. It's a denser bread, but it's not as dense as like a tea biscuit or a scone. It's a little lighter than that. And you can do a savory one, which is what this would be, or you can do a sweet one, which is what we're going to do. So to the basic mixture, we are going to add enough stuff to make Lassy style soda bread. So in Newfoundland, we have something called Lassy bread. You can call it raisin bread. Some people call it sweet bread. We normally make it around Christmas and sometimes around Easter. So it's basically a regular loaf of bread, but it has molasses and cinnamon and cloves and a bunch of different, spices depending on who makes it, and raisins, and that's often why it's called raisin bread. Today we're going to use currants, dried currants. I find they're not as sweet as a raisin, but you still get that little hint of something special. So this is my Lassy soda bread that we're going to make. So to the basic mixture, I'm going to add 1 more cup of regular flour. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of cloves, and 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. So before we add that, I'm going to kind of crunch up the brown sugar. Just whisk that a little bit so it gets all evenly incorporated. And then we're going to put it in here and then whisk that again to make sure it all gets evenly incorporated. There we go. And I'm going to spread the currants around. That's a 1/2 cup of currants or raisins, whichever you prefer, or you can leave them out, totally up to you. Now to our buttermilk, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of the molasses. And I did oil my 1/2 cup measuring cup before I put the molasses in. And it's just a little bit there on the end. So that'll be much easier to wash because it all comes out, it doesn't stick. So that's great. So I'm just going to mix that in with the buttermilk. Almost looks like chocolate milk now. And this is just a fork. You can use a whisk if you like, but if I were to put that big whisk in this little cup, I would make a big mess. But I did see something the other day that a different chef did. So Caitlin has a hard time, and actually Barry does too, whisking with a whisk. So what he did with milk and an egg is he put the whisk in and he went like this. And it does the same thing. Isn't that cool? So if you have trouble whisking, you can easily do that. So now we are going to get our hands dirty and we're going to make a well. So make sure you got clean hands. Make a well in the bowl. There we go. And we're going to add this mixture all at once. There we go. Now we're going to start moving from the outside in And we're just gonna start to fold it together. And when it starts to come together a little bit more, then we're gonna put our hands in there. And I'm not gonna call it kneading because it's not kneading like you would a regular dough. You're not looking for the gluten or anything like that to develop. But you do need to make sure it comes together in a ball. So you do need to kind of push it together. So lightly pushing. We're not gonna call it kneading per se. Alrighty then. So, there we go. So you just gently push. You're not looking to develop the gluten. You're just going to gently push, which is great. Thanks, babe. Turn it over a few times and see if we can get it to form one nice ball. Now, you know what? I think I might need, and you might need, just a wee little bit more buttermilk. So, Barry, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that, that would be awesome. And literally just a drop in the bottom of there. Good, good. Thank you. Let's see if we can get that last little bit of molasses out of there too. So I'm not going to put that all in. I'm just going to put in a bit of a tablespoon, say. See if we can gather up the rest of that. Ah, see? That's all she needed was that wee little drop to get that last bit of flour. Okay, now like I said, you don't want to knead this into a stiff ball. You just want to make it nice and round. Get back here. There we go. Now it is going to rise. Again, not like regular bread. It's a soda bread. So, what we're going to do now is lift over our pan. I have parchment paper put here. Now, if you don't have parchment paper, don't grease your pan. Put some flour on your pan, like you were dusting your cutting board, if you were going to need flour. And then put this on top of the flour. But don't grease your pan. That won't work. Okay. That looks pretty good. So, now we have to bless the bread. So, taking a good sharp knife, you want to go down the middle, about 3/4 of the way down the loaf. Not all the way through, about 3/4. And actually, I've heard it said that the first cut is to let the fairies out, and the second cut makes the cross, which blesses the bread. However, I'm not from Ireland. I could be wrong, but that's what I have heard. Although Newfoundland is pretty close. Second best. Okay, now she goes in the oven for, let me see here, 35 to 45 minutes. So when you turn it over and tap it, you want to knock on it, and it should sound hollow. And it should be crusty on the outside, but then when you break it open, it should be beautiful and soft on the inside. So I'm going to put that in the oven, and I'll see you back here in about 35-45 minutes. Hey everybody, Penny here, back again. Our Lassy soda bread is ready. Woohoo! So, as you can see, it rises and comes out. So it's got a lovely shape, very different. What I should have done, with that little bit of buttermilk that was left in the measuring cup, I should have taken a little brush and just spread that around, and that would have prevented the outside edges from looking so dry. But it's still really good. So, if you tip it over, it's still really hot. I literally just take it out of the oven. Can you hear that? Not sure if you can hear it, but it sounds hollow. And when it sounds hollow on the bottom, your soda bread is ready. So, I hope you give it a go. Oh, and one more thing. Baking soda will not start to rise or chemically react until it's hit with heat. So if you wanted to make this, say, after supper, put it in the fridge for the next morning so you have fresh bread in the morning, you can so easily do that. because it'll just stay in that dough form in the fridge until you put it in the oven, then the heat hits it, and there she goes. But I really hope you give it a go. Irish soda bread, Penny's Lassie bread version. Enjoy! Bye!
Yay.